Welcome to Random Links News and our guest, labor leader Chris Smalls of the Amazon Labor Union out there in JFK 8 warehouse, but hopefully creating a national Amazon Labor Union. Is that about right?
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely.
Right. And you came off a huge victory in organizing the JFK 8 warehouse. And you guys tried organizing the warehouses in Stanton, Bessemer, and one in Texas. Now, you may not have been as successful, but you saw where you know how much more you need to go in order to get them organized. And I kind of, since then, because of that major victory you got in JFK 8, you got a great amount of attention. Particularly, you got to speak in front of Congress in June, I believe, and you were invited to the White House. President Biden gave you some kudos for the work that you've been doing. And I just want to make sure that people understand who you are and what you've been doing. Mr. Smalls, just thank you for coming to Random Links out here. You created the hashtag Hot Labor Summer.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about that, please?
Yeah, it was just something that naturally was formed when we won our election. I've been pretty much thrown into a whirlwind of traveling right after the victory, and at this year Chicago's labor notes. We have 4,000 people from all over the country and world underneath one roof, and naturally a part of my keynote speaking with Bernie Sanders and others, it just naturally came out, and I kind of ran with it on Twitter, and now the organizing world embraced it, and it's being shared and used pretty much every day now.
Mm-hmm. And what's been happening is you've been traveling from city to city, aligning yourself with other labor organizers from sex workers unions, like in North Hollywood, a group of strippers who walked out because they weren't being treated properly, let alone paid properly. Amazon workers elsewhere across the country, inspiring folks. Can you tell us more about what place you've been and what you've seen?
Yeah, I've been to at least 16 different cities. I'm probably missing a few, but
in a matter of like 2 months or so?
Yeah, or less. And I've been on the front lines with Starbucks workers. Cleveland, they organized a couple of stores after I left that visit, and Texas, there's a lot of great energy down in Austin right now. There's even people that's going to target Tesla. And then New York is definitely buzzing right now all over the city. Apple workers, the Google workers, they're forming unions. Up in Massachusetts, Trader Joe's, I visited the first store that was unionized for Trader Joe's. And the list just grows every day. I have people reaching out to me from all different industries, from insurance companies all the way to car washes.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's interesting that's happening right now is that because there's been a change in the nature of work for working class people, I feel like that people's relationship to unions, at least the old guard, is different. And you've been preaching to folks like, look, we got to lift up. We need to allow younger generation of leaders to rise up and lead in the 21st century because the old way is not quite working. Tell me more about how you came to that conclusion as you've been paying attention and you start becoming more active and ultimately inspiring your comrades, your comrades in arms.
Yeah, we're in a different time when it comes to labor. These companies are pouring billions of dollars into fighting against organized labor. And traditional style organizing was always done, in secrecy, and also done, by a number of militant action within the workshop. But these companies design their businesses and use their tactics so well that they're able to, withstand any type of union effort just by hiring and firing. So the type of organizing we're doing from within, it's very difficult to fire, when you got your whole workforce from the inside building themselves as into a worker collective or a union. As far as opposed to an established union where they had to come and pretty much learn the ins and outs of the company. They had to learn how to organize within the company. They had to learn certain data and metrics and language. That can take time, and it's very difficult to do from the outside in. But when you're the actual worker that's been invested, living the reality of the grievances that we're fighting for, it's very easy to have these conversations with them. And that's what I noticed when I was on the campaign trail in front of my former facility, that a conversation with an Amazon worker was way easier coming from me, who was an Amazon worker.
Right. Now, you got started on all of this with Amazon as a worker, basically. You started in 2015. And you was happy, from what I've read, working for Amazon and getting promoted. But at some point, there was a change in your consciousness about what was going on, particularly as you weren't getting promoted into positions that you felt you deserved. You tell me about that.
Yeah, definitely worked there 4.5 years as a process assistant, and it only takes 2 years to become a salary manager. So when I applied several times and didn't get anywhere, or didn't get the feedback that I thought I deserved, I realized that there was something deeper, systemically wrong with Amazon when it comes to its equal employment opportunities, especially for Black and brown workers. So I applied to become a manager over 50 times, and when I realized, and unfortunately it took me 4.5 years to realize that 2 interviews is unacceptable. And especially when I opened up 3 buildings and trained hundreds of their employees, there's no way that I shouldn't have been a manager from the qualifications that I had. So it was easy for me to fight and stand up when the time came, which was unfortunately COVID-19.
Right. And one of the things I found most interesting when I was reading up on you was that you said you used Amazon's corporate philosophy against them in your organizing efforts.
Right.
Can you tell me about that?
Right. Amazon has 14 principles that they preach, at least to management. They have it all over their warehouses, and one of my favorite ones was have a backbone, disagree, and commit. They didn't like that one, but it was their principle, and I use it often. I used it before organizing the union. I used it, as I was moving up in the company, or working in the company. So for me, disagreeing to how they treated us during COVID was one step, and having a backbone and committing to getting to a place where there's some results that are going to benefit us. That's the commitment side. And unfortunately they fired me, but now I'm using the same principles there as I am now.
I know that's right. And what's interesting about Amazon's corporate philosophy is that it actually is modeled after a number of other major companies, like say Walmart or whatever, and where they make associates feel like they're a part of the system, a part of the whole program, and it feels like family. And they attempt to pay you more, have better benefits, but I get the feeling that when Amazon did it in particular, when you combine that with the increased mechanization with robots and stuff, there was always a dissonance. You know what I mean? Can you explain a little bit about Amazon's culture of work compared to their philosophy, how that even melds together, right?
Yeah, I mean, they always been disconnected from their workers, and always been disconnected from the community. We proved that theory once we won our election. Amazon spent $4.3 million, which I attest is probably a lot more than that. They put these workers in over 3,000 captive audiences. They got myself and others arrested several times. They did all these things and thought that there was no chance that we were going to even be successful. And they were celebrating, they were very celebratory the last day of the election, because they calculated, that they would win by a landslide, But they
You think they use your AWS technology to figure out whether or not you'll lose?
they use whatever they could, and what they fail to realize is that we are so much more connected to the workers than they underestimated that, and that's where we were able to really connect. Just knowing that they're disconnected. I knew that the entire time. So the Amazon thinks that workers are going to listen to them just by you telling them to say vote no, but it doesn't work that way. We earn the trust and we build our relationships, every single day on the ground.
And the interesting thing is that one of the keys to you guys' success, yourself and your comrades who are organizing, is you guys have that inside-outside game. Basically, you have to make sure that there are people inside who are organizing and telling folks, like talking about the actual work that is happening, connecting with their actual experiences and working. But the key thing that you noticed was the fact that there's a big difference between those who work full-time and those who work part-time. And so that and how long they've been working, it makes a big difference into whether or not they will be amenable to joining the union. Can you tell us a little bit more about the realities that the day-to-day full-time worker experiences, and then also, if you can, tell me a bit about the part-time worker?
Yeah, so being a full-time worker, our commute's 2.5, 3 hours, depending on which borough you live in. Then you have to work 10 to 12 hours. 10-hour shift is a 4-day week. 12 hours a 3-day week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. It's the worst shift ever that they have. I did that one as well. These buildings are 1 million square feet, 14 NFL football fields. You may walk the state of Rhode Island 30 miles a day. You're doing calisthenics, so I used to tell my new hires, if you got a gym membership, you might want to cancel it. And that's just not the departments. That's just not even what you're doing as far as operations. As a picker, you're required to pick 400 items an hour. Average about 4,000, 5,000 items a day that you're touching. And that's just one normal day for an Amazon worker. Part-time workers, the same thing. It's just a lot less hours. They do about 20, 25 hours a week, but they still go through the same, injuries or the same grievances as any full-time worker.
It fundamentally discriminates those who are older, may have some disabilities. I mean, I've read in places where, like, if you were in the military and you did well there, you might do well maybe at an Amazon warehouse, because it's so regimented and you have to basically fit the schedule of robots doing their thing, and you sort of have to fit in like a cog, except humans ain't robots.
Right.
Have you seen those videos that Amazon put together to try to sort of Disneyfy the actual work experience of the Amazon worker?
Yeah, I've seen them for years. They use, like South Park characters to make these videos that look like, it's a fun place to work at. And they also use them to spread propaganda as well. If you see something, say something. It's more them trying to water down union busting, but for them it's safety protocols or whatever they want to frame it as. But we see right through that.
And the part that does not get articulated is the very fact that when workers are in the same position, doing the same motions repeatedly for 10 hours straight with 30-minute breaks, whatever, problem here, it actually causes actual physical damage, forcing people to get actual physical therapy in order to even heal or deal with these issues. Stuff they might not even be able to afford.
Right.
And I'm probably saying more of the stuff that you already know, but I just feel like people need to understand, even though Amazon's creating all these jobs, these workplaces are hazardous, and they're not necessarily designed to include humans working in these places. And I just want to understand, I'm saying too much. I want to make sure I want people hear what you have to say about this. Some of the worst experience that you know of workers dealing with that environment and getting through, if they do get through.
Well, there's nothing worse than knowing that I know people who died, working there, and I can't say that I don't. That's unfortunate, especially even after the fact that we tried to protect people when it came to COVID-19. The company dropped the ball on that, and now, as a result, several, people from that facility has lost their lives.
At the JFK facility.
Yes,
during COVID.
And just other horror stories from around the country. One in particular down in Virginia, Prushan Brown, who's no longer with us, 38-year-old black woman who was COVID testing at Amazon with no proper PPE, no facial mask, no N95, no nightgown or any type of gown, no plexiglass, and she left behind her 12-year-old daughter, Gabby, who's now motherless. I've been in touch with that family ever since, and I had to actually help push to raise money because Amazon hasn't not only been held accountable, haven't done anything. They offered them 2 months of, family counseling, which is already expired, over a year ago. So these are just stories that get buried by the media, don't even get written by media. I can go on and on. I got 50,000 emails that say otherwise. And, that's our job as well, to amplify these things.
Now, the interesting thing is, for this labor movement, everything began when the pandemic started, March 2020. And people were dying in these warehouses because Amazon was not trying to protect people. It seemed like a series of things happened in order to fall into place that sort of sped up this movement. Can you tell me about how that sort of happened? How did the dominoes start falling together when, unfortunately, deaths had to happen because of this?
Yeah, but after the walkout, which was March 30th, I was fired 2 hours later. Then a couple of weeks after that, Jeff Bezos, along with his general counsel, had that meeting about me, calling me not smart, articulate. Ironically, they also said to make me the face of the whole unionizing efforts against Amazon. So I spent that next year, protesting, advocating still in front of Jeff Bezos' mansions and penthouses across the country, from the East Coast to the West Coast. And when we came back, that's when Alabama was starting their campaign down in Bessemer. We drove down there, we saw some things, learned some things as well. And we came back and we said we're going to try our efforts in April of 2021. And we campaigned for about 11 months until we were victorious on April 1st of this year.
In Bessemer or?
In Staten Island.
Staten Island. Right. And I think, were you guys organized? Did you begin sort of organizing before COVID? Before March?
No.
So basically, the experience with COVID radicalized. I don't use the word radicalized, but it definitely broadened your consciousness. Like, look, we can't keep on going like this.
Yeah. It wasn't until COVID. We were just going to work, taking care of our families at home, living a regular day-to-day life.
Now, your life must have radically changed, though.
Oh, yeah.
With your activism, man. I mean, you're a family man. You got a wife, you got kids.
No, no wife.
Wife?
Single.
Ex-wife. Ex-wife. I would imagine this life as a union labor organizer has not been helpful because you've been so busy.
Yeah, I mean, my life definitely changed. Definitely doing this for my children, and it's definitely been a whirlwind of events, but just balancing everything, taking things day by day. That's all we can do, and just trying to build as much as possible.
One thing I was always curious about, though, is were there any labor leaders that you find yourself sort of looking into for inspiration at some point over the past 2 years? I mean, one that comes to mind is A. Philip Bendoff, for example, of the sleeping car porters. We're talking about back in the 20s and 30s, But there are other labor leaders, I would imagine, Or right now, you simply taking inspiration from people in your generation?
Yeah, I think my motivation, more so my inspiration really comes from um, folks that I'm with now, um, and watching all the other industries organize. I think we're writing history as we speak, so of course, it's always good to read up on history and revert back to it. But I also think that it's important that we realize the moment that we're in. So I think myself and others are the labor leaders that people are looking up to now, and for us, we have to write history as we speak and kind of walk and chew bubblegum at the same time.
Right.
So it's kind of difficult when you're talking about Amazon that's never been done before, to really look at anything else that compare. I know there's been a lot of organized factories and warehouses, but still, Amazon uses technology and metrics like no other company, and the type of oligarchy that we're up against is really unprecedented. So it's just for me, focusing on the task at hand and trying to navigate through the hurdles that we face.
One of the things I found inspirational is that you have made the argument that labor unions really have to rise above the business of politics, and focus on the actual bread and butter issues that are connecting these workers. That goes deeper than any ideology you may have.
Mm-hmm.
How did you and your comrades come to this conclusion? I think it has a whole lot to do with the moment that we're in and how divided we are. But I want to hear in your words, how do you guys come to this conclusion?
Yeah, when you talk about 8,300 people, there's no way they're all going to be Democrats. So we can't fall into that rabbit hole of just saying, we only support certain candidates. Just being independent is being independent. We build on the commonality of the workplace issues only. And that's how, we were able to, get people that support, whether you support Trump or you support Biden or you support communism, doesn't matter to us. We're talking about the issues inside the warehouse, which, everybody can agree. There's some things that need to be changed when it comes to Amazon and its protection. So for us, that's how the identity of the ALU was formed. We're one big, family, and we're going to have people from all different backgrounds, and everybody should have a voice.
There was one organizer of the ALU in Texas who said that one of the biggest keys to that is love. When you're speaking to other workers, you can't come from a political standpoint. You have to come from a place of love and connection.
Yep.
And I got the strong feeling that well, he said so, it came from the personal experience of having to talk one-on-one to each worker that he was organizing. And I was wondering if he had the similar kinds of experience as he may have.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically how we beat Amazon. It wasn't numbers, it wasn't metrics, definitely wasn't money. It doesn't matter what they threw at us. We knew that by showing the workers that we care for one another, showing up every day, having several conversations, just being there, whether it was a shoulder to lean on or cry on, we were there for them. And that's the type of love that workers want when it comes to their workplace. They want to feel like they're appreciated. They want to feel like they're being taken care of, that they're going to be represented the right way. And we showed that in our campaign, paying for Uber rides, having barbecues, giving out food every day, having bonfires, me being out there at the bus stop for over 300 days. That was real love that they wanted, and that's the reason why we were able to beat Amazon.
Has more mainstream unions out there, aside from the Teamsters and Air Flights Union, reached out to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I done probably spoke to every union in the country by now, but it's been great solidarity so far.
Well, that's good to hear. Do you know you might be able to hang out with us during the Labor Day parade on Labor Day?
I'll make a call for it. I mean, if you ain't already shutting your city down, I know we are in New York. I know I'm planning on it now, so I definitely support any action over here.
Now, the experience of you actually just going from city to city and support all these different labor efforts, has it broadened your perspective in the ways to connect with labor?
Yeah, definitely. I realize that it's going to be a lot more difficult to get everybody on the same accord than expected, but I do realize that it's an iron that's hot right now. You know, all these different industries unionizing, all these different workers standing up and fighting at their workplaces, paying attention. More people are paying attention to labor now. It's definitely good to be a part of the whole movement, and just learning the different fights and struggles across the country. It's also been amazing to see as well.
What is the next step in your journey and sort of for the ALU? I feel like there's a lot of steps you have to take, but it's not going to take long. It's sort of feeling like you get the wind behind you.
Yeah, I mean, the next step for us is just continue to organize our building up our stronghold, as well as helping launching a few other campaigns. We already started in Albany. Kentucky's up next, and then we got some other ones that are going to go public soon. And we're going to help those campaigns along with anybody else that wants our assistance as far as the ALU is concerned. And the only thing we can do is prepare to hopefully negotiate a contract, once this court verdict comes back, which we're waiting for right now.
And that court verdict here is we're talking about the particular NLRB abuses that Amazon committed, and I would imagine both Staten Island and Bessemer, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the NLRB's process is very, it's just very underpaid and understaffed. They are supposed to be representing the workers into a point where, they have, as workers, we should have a relationship where we feel comfortable using that process. But right now, it's been a struggle when, we can't get the results. We have to wait months upon months to even get, anywhere when it comes to these cases. That's been the real struggle with them.
If I'm not mistaken, the Trump years has not been kind to the NLRB. I feel like it's been cutting back on their resources from the get-go.
Yeah.
Not even just the Trump administration, but maybe possibly even before.
Yeah.
For people who want to support what the ALU is doing, for those who want to support workers who are in these 21st century workhouses, what can they do?
Yeah, definitely follow us on our website, social media as well, at AmazonLaborUnion.org, at Amazon Labor Union on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok as well. Definitely get involved with any demonstrations that we're doing if you're able to, and definitely just follow, what we got going on, whether it's petitions or community support outreach, phone banking for these campaigns that we're about to launch. We're going to have all of that information on our website.
All right. Man, I appreciate you coming and visiting us and speaking with us, and we definitely support the work that you're doing. And,
Absolutely, anytime.
The work that you're doing is inspirational, man. I appreciate it. You're so young too.
Thank you.
In your early 30s?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm happy to see you doing what you're doing, bro.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.